The following is a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production.
Thank you, Kelly Olson. We are back. New York Mets in the zone. I'm Ralph Tyko with the Comfortably Zoned Radio Network, and I've got the three Met mavens who really do the best podcast on Al Gore's internet when it comes to the Mets. I'll introduce them. First, the Rose brothers, Marty and Barney.
Yes.
Howdy.
Howdy.
If I confuse you, Mert and Barn, I confuse myself on a daily basis. We're also joined by Robert Cole, another fellow New Yorker. We're all New Yorkers who moved out of state. I'm in California, and you guys are in Florida, but in different spots in Florida. Before we get to the Met stuff, let's talk about where you guys live individually and the advantages and the disadvantages of your locale. Start with you, Marty.
Oh, okay. Well, we are in Celebration, Florida, which is south of Orlando and south of Disney World. And what's good about it is this particular town is very nice. It was built. The whole town was built by the Disney organization about 30 some odd years ago. Mostly was intended for their employees and their top management guys and stuff. But now it's anybody can live here. But it's very, very nice, and it's of course near all the Orlando things to do. The Disney and the Universal and all the parks and the fun things and restaurants. They're everywhere. You don't have to go far for anything. The only thing that's far is a real beach. We don't have the beaches like Robert and Barn do right near them because we're right in the middle of the state. But
do you have access to any water whatsoever on a regular basis? Lake? Are there lakes around?
Well, there's a lake right in the center of town. Very pretty lake, but it's not for swimming. We have a community pool right across the street. Walk out the door, cross the street, in the pool. So that's convenient.
And it's not like Rockaway where it doesn't get the sun doesn't break through till 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
Well, no. Here the sun's out early, and usually in the afternoon you get some kind of rain. But that's the way it is in this area here. Afternoon rain, almost every day.
I'll ask you what you would change about it and what you're glad is the way it is.
I don't. Well, I mean, there's a lot of traffic. I changed that, but when you choose to live here, you have to understand that people come from all over the world to Orlando. I mean, Orlando is like, I think, one of the top, maybe in the top 5 or maybe even 3 airports in the country now, because everybody eventually comes here with their kids for one thing or another.
Right.
So
now your granddaughter Evie must just absolutely adore Disney World.
Well, we have the annual passes, So, but
okay.
There are blackout dates, of course. You don't want to go in the middle of the summer when it's 95 degrees every day, and you try not to go when school is on vacation. So, the best time to go is really late fall, winter, early spring, when it's not too hot and it's not too crowded. That's, if you can figure out when that is, then you're lucky.
All right. Hey, Barn, would you like us to take you to Disneyland this weekend?
Where are you taking me?
To Disneyland this weekend.
Disneyland. No, I can't do that anymore.
Disney World.
You know what? If I went with my great niece, I'm sure I'd have a blast. We used to drive up there a lot when I first moved down here, but after a while, they didn't update it for years. They're only really just updating it now. It's 50 years old. All this stuff is antiquated, and I mean...
Yeah, they're still not finished with Epcot.
Well, I'm sure. Really, they just got started, didn't they? I mean, I don't know. You know better than me.
It's been going on for a couple of years already.
Because we used to go up there. Yeah. No,
Barn, where are you located, and what do you like and what do you dislike? If not dislike, what would you prefer was different in your world?
Well, we were in Broward for a long time, Tamarack, just west of Fort Lauderdale, for 20-odd years. And then we moved to Boynton Beach, which is about 30 miles north of Fort Lauderdale. And, I mean, we're a little closer to the beach, but we kind of stopped going there so much. But it's too old here. It's too old. You don't see young people. Now, granted, I don't want to even get into what category we fall into, but...
Well,
but they're all older than us. We moved into a 55 and older, but it was not 55 and older. We were in our 60s when we moved in, early 60s. And there was almost nobody in their 60s. We met a couple of people, but, I mean, it's really too old. And the whole town is just, even Del Rey, which is got more going for it, but the whole area, Boynton Beach, Delray Beach, it's old. And you get tired of just seeing old people. You want to see young people and, girls in bikinis, I don't know.
But now some of these women in bikinis you really don't want to see.
Yeah, right. That's right. No, but you know what? We like what we have. We like we downsized. We got a nice little, top floor condo. It's on a little lake, whatever you want to call it. But and we like it. It's just that, we'd like it to be back in Broward County, but you can't live like this in Broward County. So we moved, and now all my gigs are all in Broward County. I'm driving 30, 35 miles to every gig. Even the ones here, I'm driving north 35 miles, I'm driving south. It's, I moved out of the comfort zone, for, geographic desirability, if you will.
And that could be at many different levels. Geographically undesirable.
Right, yes.
Come in all different forms. All right, you sound happy, of course. I want to just say, you early on when we became reacquainted, and that must be 7 or 8 years ago, six or 7 years ago, whatever. You took some wonderful, and you still do, wonderful pictures of your surroundings, and you motivated me to do the same. And what with COVID, I haven't really gotten out there and done much photography in a long time. I think where I I think I can get out there more, and I'll be taking some pictures of my surroundings.
Nice.
And I'm trying to keep up with you, Barn, because you take some beautiful pictures. Robert Cole, you're a New Yorker, as are we, which means that nothing will ever be perfect. That's the whole attitude of New York. Well, it's this and that, but it's not that. Robert, tell me about it. Where are you most happy in Florida?
Well, we're in the middle. We're in the Tampa Bay area. So we're in the middle on the West Coast, and beaches all around us, which is really nice. Also, for me, we're in the middle of, baseball country. There's spring training camps, in a 10-mile radius that we can get to. We also have the Florida State League. We're 20 minutes away from where the Rays play their games. So, for a baseball guy, it's really nice. Now, Now, what I'm looking for still, after 30-some years, is a good Chinese restaurant, a good pizza place, and a good kosher deli. Okay?
Three musts.
Three musts, indeed. There aren't many kosher delis in New York. There's a big shortage of kosher delis right now in New York.
I think a lot of them closed, probably, over the years.
Yeah, a lot of them did, yeah.
The future is not good for those.
Yeah.
Even down here, some of them have gone away, and there's some big, Jewish communities down here. Even the one outside of Century Village, where our mother lived for a number of years, the big kosher deli across the street, gone.
Wow.
Yeah, my best friend lives in Del Rey, and he said there's a couple in the area there.
Yeah, where I am, there's still quite a few.
Yeah.
Because this is where all the old folks went. So I don't want to keep harping on that. I mean, I like South Florida. It's a little hot in the summer, but after 30 years, you're used to it, and you're not doing much out. You're in the air conditioning most of the time. So.
And you're the young guy, Bernie. You're the young guy. Take advantage of that. Be happy with that. You're the young guy.
I'm the young guy. Well, in 6 days, I won't be that much younger.
That's right.
Well, happy birthday in advance, Barn.
Yep.
Thank you.
I'm 11.
Many more.
And then a couple of weeks after that, I joined the 3/4 Century Club.
That's right.
Well, congratulations. That's great. I'm 4 years away. 4 years and 6 days away.
And Mert is right behind on that 1/4 Century Club. Have you reached it already?
Yeah, he's there.
April.
Oh,
That's April.
Oh God. Isn't this wonderful? Well, I'll tell you, it could be Vice.
Very good.
Ralph, you should change the name of the podcast to Three Old Guys Bitching About Their Ailments.
Well, it's for, I don't bitch about living in California, and I'll tell you what I don't bitch about. Politically speaking, it really is a more relaxed place than Florida. I mean, weather-wise, you got us on some levels. Hard to beat the Bay Area, hard to beat Alameda. So I'm not complaining. So you three can stretch. How about that?
Now, the Bay Area, I haven't been there in a long time, but it was great.
Oh, it really is unbelievably expensive. Unbelievably.
I have no doubt of that, yeah.
and San Francisco is riddled with the homeless. All of the Bay Area is, and that's a big problem. But it's certainly a social state. Let's put it that way. They've got plans to make sure that women are able to get abortions. I mean, whether you believe in abortions or not, you got to believe in the right to choose abortions. And they're on top of that. They were on top of AIDS from as much as any other state. And it's nice to have a liberal governor. I'm sure you guys would agree. It would be nice.
Absolutely. Yeah.
For you. Rubio scares me because in case Trump gets indicted, and it looks like there's a stronger possibility later, I think he'd be the odds-on candidate.
I think you mean DeSantis, but
I said Rubio.
Rubio's a dog also, but that's another story. You know, but this DeSantis could be, you know, more fascist than Trump. I mean, I don't know. It's really unbelievable.
Well, I don't think, and you'll have to prove it to me, I don't think he'll be more fascist than Trump. But he could be in the running. Let's get on to something a little bit. Thank you for sharing your lives to the audience. We get to know you as the podcast Trio Kvetches. And all three of you have been called worse.
Right. The three Kvetch amigos.
All right. We got to get the Mets into the title some way. So I'll work on it. I'll put my creative mind together. Yeah. Okay. The Mets. I'm going to tell you what impressed me the other day, and I went, whoa. DeGrom's outing, what he was doing, blowing people away. I know it's the minors, I know this, but he's reaching 100 effortlessly, and he's got something to really play for, because I think he's going to try to be a free agent, or at least try to get the most for DeGrom. Whether or not he gives a rat's ass about the Mets pennant, I seriously doubt if any of them care as much about how their team does than how they do individually. That for another show. Tell me about your impressions of DeGrom's outing. Start with you, Mert.
Okay, well, he's facing single A hitters. I mean, most of these kids are, you know, in maybe their first or second year in pro ball, and you know, I'm not really that impressed with him striking out 5 out of 6 guys. I'm impressed that he could actually throw 100 miles an hour right at the start. And from what I heard, the team wasn't thrilled about that. You know, the hierarchy of the Mets. Like, what are you doing? This is your first time out. Take it easy. But no, he felt that he could do it, so he did it. And more power to him.
Barn, what do you think?
Well, it could also mean that maybe he was ready a few weeks ago if he goes out there throwing 100. You know, why isn't he wearing a Met uniform? But look, they didn't need to rush him. We talked about that a couple of weeks ago. The Mets are off to their third best start ever in the first 80 games. Am I correct?
Something like that, for sure.
88 and 86. 86, they had 55 wins, I believe, in their first 80. And 88, they had 51. And now they're 50 and 30. It's their third best start ever. Both years, they played my former team in the playoffs and had a success and an unsuccessful journey there. But and it could happen again.
Yes, that would be something. And culminate that with a Subway Series and the possibility thereof. Robert, speak to that.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, that would be wonderful. But I think we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves. A little bit at a time, a couple of weeks at a time. As far as DeGrom goes, all right, he probably is amping things up faster than the team wants because he is intending to go, be a free agent. The thing that worries me about that is that his agent is once again Brodie Van Wagenen. And Brodie Van Wagenen and the Mets, of course, parted ways not in a very general, good way. So that concerns me. And then, then you just had that deal with Freddie Freeman leaving the Braves, for Barney's former team. And now, all the nonsense that's coming out of that. So that's a concern as far as DeGrom staying or not staying. But as far as the team itself, very happy so far. You go around the internet, a lot of people are complaining. We had guys on our site, saying, "Oh, it's over now. The Braves are going to run right past them," and stuff like that. And that's silly. You still have a 3.5 game lead, and if they continue doing what they do most of the year, 2 out of 3, win 2 out of 3, win 2 out of 3, they'll be fine.
Good, very good point. Just keep it simple, series by series, and as you say, let's not get ahead of ourselves. But it's hard not to be enthusiastic. In the interest of not getting ahead of ourselves, I'll start with you, Mert. How can the wheels come off?
Well, I think, lately there's been a slowdown in the offense. It seems like pretty much team-wise. I don't know why that is, but that'll change. I guess those kind of things go back and forth, up and down. But the only thing that's really going to hurt are key injuries. And look, they got DeGrom coming back probably the beginning of August, and they got Scherzer back tonight. Bassett will be back shortly. So the only thing that could really hurt is a serious injury to a key guy, like Lindor or Alonso. Outside of that, I don't see any problem. I think they can be consistent.
Okay. Along with that, Tom Smith may be starting to come out of it a little. Not that he's had a home run for an entire calendar year, but shows me a little bit in the last week of life, and he is a terrific fielder at first. So it would be nice if he could end up being their DH. But I'm dreaming. I think I am. Barn,
Well,
what can
yes.
go wrong?
Well, some of the averages have dropped, and you know, I mean, Nimmo was hitting over 300 most of the time. He's down to 270. So when your leadoff hitter is slumping, your production's going to go down. Lindor's been very opportunistic. He's still only hitting 246, but he's been driving in the runs. You can't complain. Although he really should be hitting higher. He always hit higher his whole career. I'm not quite sure what the problem is, but he's been knocking in runs like crazy. I think everybody just has to get back on an even keel. I don't know why they keep McNeil down in the 7th or 8th spot. I mean, the guy's hitting 321. I'd put him up a little higher, but then again, you know, they're 50 and 30. The only thing that can go wrong is, you know, a slump. Just slumping. They're going to finish first or second in that division. You don't want second. You don't want to be a wild card. So they just have to maintain it. You know, keep, like Mert said, keep winning those series. Scherzer's back tonight. DeGrom is on the way. I still don't think the Braves, I don't know. Everything worked out great for them last year. Everybody they picked up at the deadline panned out. It's like they struck gold, and it worked. And the Dodgers unfortunately had a couple of injuries at the end, but I'm not going to go there because Acuna was out all year too. So, but they pulled it off. But they lost a lot of those guys. I think
Donaldson is gone. Freddie Freeman. So we'll see what happens.
I think they can stay in front of them, and especially with the two starting pitchers back. The bullpen stays right. If the bullpen doesn't stay right, and the bottom half of the order doesn't produce, that's the only thing that can go wrong. Or injuries, of course, like Mert said. But
now let's hear from the very pragmatic Robert Cole.
Okay. Well, the Rose Boys covered it pretty well, actually. This is going to come down between the Braves and the Mets to who has the least amount of injuries. And, Mert said it really, really well. As long as you stay away from the really critical injuries, the Mets have had their share already. The batting order, slumping a little bit now, but it's a well-balanced, order. It should come around. The bullpen is the big thing. I've been saying that all year. And so far, Showalter has been doing a really good job with it, balancing it, using, he kind of sees how the game is going, whether he should bring his A guys in or his B guys in. And he's been doing a good job with that. They just DFA'd Chase and Shreve, so now they're down to one lefty in the bullpen, so that could hurt also.
Well, Steve Cohen promises to do what it takes to fill in the holes around trading deadline. So we'll see. Robert, question off the top of my head. Did you ever think that you, a former umpire, would ever see the state of umpiring the way it is? I contend it's horrible.
It is horrible at the upper level. The young umpires, the minor league umpires, the guys that first come up to the majors are excellent. And we talked about a couple of those guys, they get graded. And a couple of the young ones have done really well, as far as the grading goes. The older guys now have gotten lazier with the replay. It used to be you wanted to get the call as good as you could get it. Now they just make the call and they know, well, if I blew it, they'll change it. And I think that's actually gotten things worse.
What's to stop Major League Baseball from promoting the guys who get it right and demoting the guys who get it wrong?
Union.
Yeah,
very, very strong. Very strong union. And you don't want to go back to where you have, scab guys, umpiring, because these guys will go out on strike in a heartbeat, if you do anything like that. The automatic strike zone is going to be here, and, they have it in the minor leagues. It seems to be working pretty good. Each team gets 3 challenges, because every once in a while, the automatic umpire screws up, and there's an anomaly. And so an umpire, there's still an umpire behind home plate who's actually calling the balls and strikes in his mind, and he's calling what he hears in his ear. But if there's a challenge on an anomaly where it's really egregious, he can make the proper call.
Well, I wanted to ask you about that. But, this automatic strike zone thing we'll get to in a second. Why does it appear that these home plate umpires are calling balls and strikes so far out of the zone the wrong way? Well, it seems like every game, in every city, numerous. Has it always been that way? I mean, it just seems egregious.
Okay, it's always been that way. Okay, you have some umpires that'll call a high strike, some will call a low strike. You basically, as an umpire, you start a strike zone at the beginning of your game, and you try to stay with that. All right. Now, my strike zone tonight, may be a little different from my strike zone tomorrow, depending on who's pitching. There's a lot of different variables. Tom Glavine made a living never throwing the ball in the strike zone, because they used to be so good at just shaving the sides of the plate that they widened the plate for him. But it was consistent. And all the hitters ask, and you hear this all the time, is just be consistent. Right, you may have a lousy strike zone, but as long as it's the same from the first inning to the ninth inning.
You know why you see it more often? Because they got that box there all the time.
That's what I was just going to bring up.
You're looking right at it. How can he call that? Look where the ball is,
When we, years ago, we watched a ton of baseball, just like now, and they didn't have that. And if it didn't look like a strike, we were going, that wasn't a strike. But now, with that box, we're like, that definitely wasn't a strike. I mean, and they're showing it to you with this slow-mo that they didn't have years ago, this super slow-mo.
I want to say one other thing about the box. They never adjusted for the height of the player, of the batter.
Correct.
Never.
Correct. That's right.
So, I mean, how accurate is it really?
Okay, and that's the problem they're having with the automatic strike zone. You could have Francisco Lindor up, and then you have Pete Alonso up right after him. Their strike zones are different, and an adjustment has to be made. A strike on Alonso, would be up, in Lindor's chin, and that's what they're having a problem with right now, and that's part of the anomaly that they're trying to work out in the minor leagues. Is it making that adjustment?
Well, I would say that's a technical issue, and they should throw some money into developing the thing before they put it in, not after.
Well, Manfred already said 24, so they're giving it another year, to get it right.
Okay, well, that's a good move. A little caution, and because if you started off and there's all kinds of doubt about its validity, it's going to take the fans and the press a long time to make up for what they saw early on in its development. Just my 2 cents. Worth just that, as a matter of fact. Even accounting.
I'm not so sure with inflation anymore. Maybe
right.
a penny in hand.
Having inflation. Hey. So it's worth 3 cents. How about?
There you go.
And it's not worth that. Anyway, thank you for another great podcast, guys. I hope I didn't cut any of you off, and you're all happy. If there's anything you want to say that will prove to be cathartic for you, let me know, Marty.
I'm good. Everything's fine. Just hope that our boys can continue to hang in there. Keep
well, I'm not going to jinx anybody like I did Guillermo. The guy makes some incredible defensive plays at positions he's not accustomed to being in, and along with that, his hitting goes south.
Well, soon as Showalter said he should be on an all-star team for a utility guy.
Exactly, and
but that just shows you, okay, that some guys are excellent in what they do, filling in here and there, but when they have to play every day, their production falls off.
Yeah.
Good description of Felix Mantilla comes to mind. He was an excellent utility player for the Braves in 57, 58, comes to the Mets and just lays a big egg.
As many of them did back then.
Yes.
Right. As you guys may know, I collect books devoted to the early Mets through 1969. And George Grimm was nice enough to send me one by Leonard Schechter.
Wow.
A small little book, tiny book, but helps put those early years into perspective, just how bad their team was.
And anybody here play this game?
Right? That's Jimmy Breslin.
Yeah.
Dirk Noe wrote a great book. Leonard Coppett wrote an encyclopedia of Met stuff. So I'm happy to have this one. Thank you, George Grimm, for thinking about me. So few do. Poor Ralph.
We think about you all the time, Ralphie.
All right. Well, I don't know if that's good or bad, Barn, but you got a lot to think about. We're going on 65 years of knowing you, Mert and I, and watching you play scales. And your discipline has been also not just your photography. I think back to you just playing scales all the time and what it takes to practice and to become good. And natural ability doesn't get it with whatever you're doing. And thanks for being you, Barn.
Well, I appreciate that.
And Mert,
somebody was listening back in those days.
Mert, I'd just like to thank you for being the best crossing guard in PS 148's history. Not one kid got killed crossing the street. And some should have. I will name no names. Robert, thank you for putting us on a regular basis in touch with the umpires world. And what I'd like to do, Al Clark, the former big league umpire,
Yes.
wants to come back. I've had him as a guest several times. So if you guys don't mind, I will schedule him for a Monday night or a Tuesday night when I can.
Great.
Yes.
That'd be great.
Good. Thank you again. I hope the listening audience appreciates the trio that I brought to this airways. I am definitely the weak link and proud to be it. So just keep listening. I will put you with the guys who know. Hey! I don't know where that came from. Touching New York there. New York Mets in the zone. Comfortably Zoned Radio Network. Again, I'm Ralph Tyko, the weak link. Marty and Bernie Rose and Robert Cole. Adios and happy trails.
All
Good
right.
night.
Take care.
The proceeding has been a Comfortably Zoned network production. You are advised to keep your dreams wet, your humor dry, your children and grandchildren out of military recruiting offices and off the laps of clerics who wear dresses. Thank you for listening, everyone. Happy trails.